Hello and welcome to another Future Impact Skills Profile. My name's Yolanda Beattie and I'm the founder of Future Impact. And I'm bringing to you today Anita Stanley, Equity Research Analyst at Macquarie Group. Today we're talking about how to build a passion for markets and in particular, equity markets. We talk about this all the time at Future Impact. It's passion and curiosity are the two foundation skills in any investment role. So that's what we're going to talk about today. How do you actually build that to set you up for success? So Anita, let's start with your story. How did you build a passion for markets?
Thanks, Yolanda, and thanks for having me. So I actually, I guess, almost fell into it. I started at Macquarie almost 18 years ago as a graduate. I knew I was interested in finance, but I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. And I ended up working as an accountant initially, but working on the trading floor of our equities business, and from that, and just seeing the buzz around trading, seeing the research analysts present and hear about their different stock calls, that really was the start of, the development of my passion around equity markets and seeing the impacts from real world events and what, that did to share prices of companies.
Yeah, the interconnection of it all is just fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how do you then nurture that over time? Because that's, of course, one of the challenges, right? Everything that happens in the world can potentially have an impact on equity markets, particularly if you're a global investor, then it's even more kind of, connected. So how do you nurture or feed your passion?
Yeah, well, I think it's important to, once you've decided you're interested in equity markets, we have a lot of specialists. So in our research area, we have sector focused specialists. So the resources team or the insurance team. So initially I was focused in banks, so looking at listed banks, and that really developed because I was working in a bank, to be honest. So I thought, oh, well, this is an industry I want to know more about what's happening. And then over time that evolved. I now look at ESG, and that really aligned to my personal values. So it's, an area that I'm really interested in. I guess in terms of nurturing that, it's, keeping abreast of what's happening in the space, speaking to people in markets as well as in companies. And, it's ever evolving. So just trying to keep up with what's going on. But, because I've got that interest there, I'm very happy to do it.
Yeah. So I think that's a really good point, that find something that you're interested in and then there'll be a market to match it, right? There'll be a sector or a thematic that you can then dig a little deeper into based on what that first line aligning with an interest that's already there. So let's get into a little bit more then about how you absorb the information. You spoke about that already, talking to people in the market. But if you're a student or a young professional who's trying to get into investing, it's much harder to have that access, right? So what are the different information channels that you find most useful to build that curiosity and apply that curiosity? And then how do you filter out all the noise so that you can see what's meaningful?
Really good question. So I think if you're a student and you don't have, access to the same resources, I think just reading the financial press is a good start. Looking at different investing books, maybe starting to, look at, just even if you don't have money to invest in shares, thinking about a portfolio and just choosing one company to at least track and see how they do over time. Then you're looking for, are there university clubs or groups? Are there industry events that you can attend? In terms of getting the information, I find particularly in ESG and sustainability, there's a lot of information. It does feel a little bit like information overload, particularly at the moment. The regulatory environment is evolving very rapidly. So, you know, how do I filter out, you know, all the noise? I think that's can be a challenge in my role, because there's a lot of information. ESG is rapidly evolving, so there's a lot of regulation, there's a lot of company updates, there's a lot of different sources of information. So I really take it back to, you know, what's the core purpose of my role, which is looking at listed Australian equities and looking at you know, what are the impacts to companies. So, you know, while there's a lot of information, you think, well, is this actually relevant from an Australian listed company perspective? And then, you know, if it is, you know, what are the potential impacts? So, and then I think the other thing would be to look at find, you know, newsletters or other sources of information that you find useful and relevant, not signing up to everything. One example for me is the IEA, which provides good updates around the global energy markets and the energy transition and where we are tracking on that. So that's one that I find useful. So I think it's managing to find those, and that then you can, you know, drown out some of the noise.
Yeah, finding your sources of most credible, reliable information is really, if you think of that's such a human challenge over the rest of our lifetimes, really, and beyond, isn't it? You know, how do we actually find fact-based, reliable sources of insight? So important. Well, look, thank you so much for your time, Anita. That's been a really good taster of what it's like to build a passion for markets. We're going to provide some links in the accompanying article for people to dig a little deeper. And if I kind of sum that up, it's about finding alignment to your personal interest, digging deeper and finding a market to match, and then finding your reliable sources that help you go deeper, further into the insights and dynamics that are shaping the investment opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. It's been really great to chat, Yolanda. Thank you.
Thanks, Anita.